Chapter 13. The Soap Gambit. Marcus woke to the sound of his grandfather's labored coughing from the next room. Through the thin walls of Building 47, he could hear similar sounds from other apartments. The wheeze of exhausted lungs, the murmur of worried families discussing their assigned work details, the quiet crying of children who didn't understand why their lives had been turned upside down. Today was his first day as a freeloader, as the registration clerk had so charmingly put it, which meant he had until the end of the week to figure out how to earn a silver coin or face whatever consequences the authorities had in store for those who couldn't pay their way.
Morning, Marcus.
Tom was already dressed in the rough mining clothes they'd been issued, thick canvas pants and a heavy shirt that would provide some protection in the tunnels.
Grandfather's already gone down to the dining hall. Said he wanted to get there early, see what the food situation looks like.
How are you feeling about today?
Work is work. I've done harder things than digging rock, and at least we'll have food and shelter. What about you? You've got that look again.
What look?
The one you get when you're planning something that's probably going to get us in trouble, but might also work out well.
I need to talk to my father before you all head to work, about the money from selling the cattle.
Ha, you've got an idea.
I've got an idea, but it's going to require some initial investment and it's going to take at least 6 weeks to see any return.
6 weeks? That's a long time to wait when you've got to pay silver every week just to keep sleeping indoors.
Which means I'll also need to find some kind of temporary work, something that pays quickly but doesn't interfere with the main plan.
They made their way to the communal dining hall, a long, low building that had been constructed hastily to accommodate the refugee population. The food was basic, but adequate porridge bread and weak ale for the adults, milk for the children.
8 silver pieces plus 4 you and Tom made for the guarding. That's all we got for 10 cattle that survived the entire journey. And they made it clear that was generous considering how many other families brought livestock.
Father, I need to ask you about that money.
What about it?
I have a business idea, something that could bring in real income, not just subsistence wages, but I need some initial funds to begin.
Initial funds? You mean money to start with?
Yes, exactly. Money to buy materials and supplies.
A business idea? Marcus, we're refugees. We don't have businesses. We have work assignments and housing numbers.
That's exactly why this could work. Everyone expects refugees to be grateful for whatever scraps they're thrown. No one's thinking about refugees who might have something valuable to offer. With almost 100,000 refugees and 600,000 residents, new wealthy merchant class will emerge from all this chaos.
Wealthy merchant class?
People who get rich by finding new opportunities others miss. When there's this much change and disruption, some clever people always find ways to profit. Why can't it be us?
What kind of business?
Soap making, but not the rough stuff we made back in Millhaven. High-quality scented soap that wealthy people would want to buy. The kind of thing that could sell for 10 times what the basic version costs to make.
We don't know anything about making luxury goods.
I do. I've been studying chemistry, the science behind how different materials combine and react. I understand the process well enough to create something superior to what's available here.
And how much of our cattle money would this idea require?
10 silver pieces. Enough for initial materials and some basic equipment. We should keep the rest for emergencies.
That's a lot of money to gamble on soap.
It's a lot of money to gamble on anything. But consider the alternative. If we all just accept our work assignments and try to live on subsistence wages, we'll never be more than barely surviving. And if anything happens, illness, injury, another war crisis, we'll have no resources to fall back on.
The boy has a point. We can't live permanently on the king's charity. Eventually he'll decide we're too expensive to maintain.
But soap? How do you know there's even a market for expensive soap?
Because I've seen how the wealthy live. Rich people love spending money on new beautiful things. Luxury soap would be an excellent addition to their collection of fine goods.
Where did you see?
What do you need me to do?
I'll need you to stick with your mining assignment for now. We need that guaranteed income while I'm getting the business established. But I might need help with heavy lifting or deliveries eventually.
Done.
The plan is to craft the first batch of soap, let it cure for 6 weeks, then test the market. In the meantime, I'll find some kind of temporary work to cover my weekly silver payment and basic expenses.
Do it. Take the 10 silver. If anyone in this family is going to build something better than what we've been handed, it's you.
6 weeks. If this doesn't work.
If it doesn't work, I'll find another way. But it's gonna work.
After breakfast, as his family members dispersed to their various work assignments, Marcus made his way into the city proper. He needed to understand Drakmore's economy, where materials were sold, who controlled trade, and what opportunities might exist for someone willing to work outside the official system. The marketplace was a sprawling area of narrow streets and cramped stalls filled with the sounds of haggling voices and the smells of unfamiliar spices and goods. Marcus had expected to find the materials he needed easily, but the reality proved more complicated.
Lie? What does a refugee want with lie?
Cleaning. Strong cleaning.
We don't sell to your kind. Find someone else.
The second merchant was more polite but equally unhelpful. Marcus noticed the man wore a small metal pin on his vest identical to pins he'd seen on other local merchants.
Lies control boy. Can't sell strong burning stuff to just anyone. Need proper guild papers or city permits.
The third merchant was openly hostile, and Marcus noticed he also wore one of the metal pins.
Refugees trying to make trouble, steal business from honest merchants, get out of my stall before I call the guards.
Marcus was beginning to understand that his refugee status was going to be a significant barrier to normal commerce. The local merchants saw him as a threat to their established business, not a potential customer. He was considering his options when he heard raised voices from a nearby stall.
This is robbery. These prices are twice what you charged last month.
Supply and demand. 100,000 new mouths to feed means everyone's costs go up. You don't like my prices. Find someone else.
There is no one else. You bought out the last 3 oil suppliers.
Marcus moved closer, curious. The young man arguing with the merchant was well-dressed, but had the harried look of someone under significant pressure. His clothes were good quality but showed signs of wear, and there was something desperate in his voice that Marcus recognized, the sound of someone whose business was failing. The argument ended with the young man stalking away from the stall, empty-handed and frustrated. Marcus followed at a distance watching as the man stopped at several other stalls, each time being turned away with excuses about shortages or inflated prices. Finally, the young man sat down heavily on a stone bench near a small fountain, putting his head in his hands. Marcus approached carefully.
Excuse me, I couldn't help but overhear your discussion with the oil merchant. Are you in the fragrance business?
And you are?
Marcus of Millhaven. I'm new to the city looking for someone who might be able to help me source materials for a business venture.
A business venture? What kind of business?
Soap making. High-quality scented soap for wealthy customers.
You're a refugee, aren't you? No offense, but refugees don't start luxury businesses.
No offense taken. You're right that most refugees don't, but I'm not most refugees, and you're not most merchants either. You're someone who's being squeezed by suppliers and needs to find new opportunities.
How do you know that?
Because you were arguing about oil prices like someone whose profit margins are disappearing, and you're sitting here alone instead of in your shop, which suggests you're either taking a break from bad news or trying to figure out how to solve a serious problem.
Observant. I'm Aldrich Thorne, last son of a Thorne family, current struggling merchant, future, we'll see.
What happened to your family's business?
Father died 3 years ago, left debts I'm still paying off. The noble title is worthless, just a name with no land or holdings behind it. I've been trying to rebuild using the family's old trade connections, but as you heard, my suppliers are squeezing me for every copper piece.
What do you sell?
Scented oils primarily. Essential oils for perfume, making medicinal preparations, cooking. Or at least I used to. Hard to sell oils when you can't afford to buy them.
Where's your shop?
Lower Middle District. Small space, but it has a good location and a basement for storage. Why?
Because I think we might be able to help each other. You need a way to reduce your supply costs and increase your profit margins. I need access to scented oils and a place to work, plus someone who understands this city's trade networks.
What exactly are you proposing?
Partnership. I provide the soap-making knowledge and chemistry expertise. You provide the oils workspace and market connections. We split the profits 50-50, and I'll front the initial material costs with 10 silver I have available.
You want me to give you free access to my inventory and workspace. You'll provide materials and knowledge, and in return, I'll give you half of whatever profits we might earn.
It's a basic idea, yes.
It's insane.
So is continuing to lose money on oil sales while your suppliers bleed you dry.
You're serious about this?
Completely serious. But there are conditions.
Of course there are. What conditions?
First, I need you to teach me to read and write Baldrian, the formal script, not just basic letters. I can't run a business if I can't handle contracts and correspondence.
You can't read?
I can read, but not in the formal style used for business. Most people in my village weren't literate.
That's reasonable. Learning to read properly would benefit any business partnership. What else?
While the soap is curing, it takes about 6 weeks. I'll work for you in whatever capacity you need. Oil extraction, inventory management, customer service. I need to earn enough to cover my weekly residence fee anyway.
How much is your residence fee?
1 silver per week.
I can pay that plus a bit extra for good work. What else?
I'll need you to front the cost of lye and other soap-making materials I can't get through your oil connections. Maybe 2 silver pieces worth.
So let me understand this. You want me to provide workspace, oils, training, wages, and additional materials, all on the promise that soap we haven't made yet will sell to customers we haven't found yet, and in return I get half of profits that may not exist, and you'll provide 10 silver in initial investment.
That's correct.
And if the soap business fails completely,
Then you'll have had 6 weeks of help with your oil business, and I'll have learned to read Valdrian properly. Both of those have value regardless of what happens with the soap. Plus, I could learn your oil extraction methods. Maybe we could even find ways to become independent from those expensive suppliers.
how exactly do you plan to learn oil extraction? It's not just mixing things together. You need to know which plants produce oils, how to find them, proper distillation techniques.
When I learn to read Valdrian properly, I can research in libraries. There must be books on herbalism and distillation methods.
You know, 6 months ago, I would have laughed you out of the marketplace. But 6 months ago, I wasn't watching my family business collapse while my suppliers robbed me blind. There's something else, isn't there? Some reason you're confident this will work beyond just general optimism.
I understand chemistry in ways that most people don't. I know how to control reactions, create specific properties, achieve consistent results. What most people do by trial and error, I can do by calculation and planning.
Where did you learn chemistry?
Self-taught mostly. I've always been curious about how things work.
All right. I'm probably going to regret this, but let's try it. 50-50 partnership, 6-week trial period. You work in my oil business while the soap cures, and I teach you proper Valdrian literacy. You provide 10 silver initial investment.
Agreed.
But if this goes badly, if you're lying about your abilities, or if this whole thing is some kind of elaborate con, I will personally make sure everyone in Drakmore knows not to trust you. Are we clear?
Perfectly clear. And Aldrich?
Yeah.
Could you write down the address of your shop for me? I can't read the formal script yet.
Oh, sorry, I couldn't think of that.
As they shook hands on their agreement, Marcus felt a wave of disbelief wash over him. Oh my God, I just sold my business idea. He could barely contain his excitement. He'd walked into the marketplace with nothing but 10 silver coins and a half-formed plan, and somehow he'd talked a struggling merchant into a 50-50 partnership. The familiar thrill of a plan coming together coursed through him. It was risky, certainly, and dependent on several variables he couldn't completely control. But it was also exactly the kind of opportunity he'd been hoping to find. A chance to use his knowledge to create something valuable while building the connections he'd need to survive and thrive in this new world. Tomorrow he would begin learning the formal written language of Valdris and start building what he hoped would become a profitable business partnership. Tonight he would begin planning the specific formulations that would make their soap superior to anything available in Drakmore's markets. 6 weeks to prove himself. 6 weeks to transform from refugee to entrepreneur. He could do this.